All right, Wade, you are good to go. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, hello everyone. It is swamped in here today, which is really good, and I am going to do this very quickly with you guys. But I've been thinking and about what is 2024 really going to be like in the funding industry? What's happening out there, and some of the best, I guess you could say, if you really want to know what's really going on and you know what to expect in a year, you talk to the A lenders, not the B and C, because if the A lenders are saying good stuff, then you can expect a really good year in this industry. But today, I'm going to go over and while I was thinking this, by the way, yesterday afternoon, I got this email from one of our top A lenders. I had just gotten an email from one of the other top lenders that we have, I don't know, about 4 weeks ago. And they were saying similar things. So I said, let's just talk about this today. And I'm going to share my screen with you guys and see if we can go ahead and get started here. So Morgan, I'm assuming I'm sharing my screen here.
Yes, thanks for checking.
Okay, thanks. So again, what are all the top lenders out there saying? Well, I know what two of them are saying, and I'm going to go over what they're saying about 2024. The question is, are we going to experience high amounts of funding in 2024? Is really the funding environment slowly coming to a halt? And that has been a question that a lot of people ask when they come on board. And I wanted to add one thing to that. Are any of you stuck in paralysis analysis? Because those are the questions that are going to determine, I think, what you're going to be doing in 2024 on a larger scale. I went over this with you at one time in the past and this was about 3 or 4 weeks ago when I got a survey from one of our top lenders. I'm not giving you their names because I just don't want to have anybody misquoting these folks. But this was a survey, or I should say a poll that they took with small businesses and at the end of 2023, and discussions with merchants. No longer are supply chain disruptions top of mind, but concerns regarding access to capital are front and center. While many of our merchants are adjusting to these unprecedented market conditions, many need access to capital to assist them in making the transition to this new economic reality. Yesterday, I actually got this, and it was an article that was sent out to all of us in the lending space, and it was dated February the 15th, and it's from one of our top lenders. And basically, this report talks about small businesses anticipate growth in 2024, focused on improving profitability and cash flow. The new quarterly report kind of combines small business survey results with cash flow data from companies to provide a deeper insight into the overall health and sentiment of small businesses across the country. And here are the key findings, and I think you'll find them interesting. Number one, most small businesses are feeling pretty optimistic about the growth in 2024 and their ability to expand over the next 12 months. Secondly, a steady increase in revenue supports this optimistic outlook for growth in 2024. So at the end of 2023, there was just a steady, continuous growth in the small business sector, and they got a lot of optimism about 2024. And as inflation cools, businesses are looking to improve profitability and available cash as a way to support their growth. They got a lot of great ideas. They see 2024 as a really good year, one of the better ones in the last couple of years, and they feel like that we're going to be seeing really good growth as long as the small businesses can get access to capital. I mean, hiring qualified staff has been really a big problem throughout the country. It certainly isn't so bad in the South as much as it is in some of the Midwestern and Northern states. But they got to have the funds readily available to go ahead and hire people. In other words, if you're going to bring someone in and you're going to pay them money to help your business grow, you're going to have capital set aside outside of your normal everyday expenses to be able to unleash these people to help grow your business. The report went on and talked about the growth expectations are generally consistent across the country, with 25% of businesses expecting significant growth over the next 12 months as inflation cools. And there are some areas like Boston, Minneapolis, St. Louis, that the growth is not quite as big. But overall, the report found that 25% growth in median revenue over the past 8 months are kind of support all these the optimism of these small business people. Over 65% of small businesses in major metropolitan areas like Boston, Chicago, Cleveland, Kansas City, Philadelphia were moderately, very, or extremely concerned about having access to capital for hiring qualified staff. The report's based on responses from nearly 500 small businesses with working capital loans and over 3 million small business applications for working capital finances during the last 18 months. This survey was done between December the 12th and 15th. And what it's really saying is, look, growth expectations. Let me stop this right quick because I want to stay on this thing. Growth expectations are there for the A lenders. That means that the B, C, D lenders, all those folks are going to be even more optimistic of what's going to happen. But I think a lot of people, especially brokers, I think more than anyone within this industry, they got paralysis analysis. They're thinking over their approach to finding small businesses, customers. Even right now with our company, the same holds true for RX customers. It's really as simple as meet, greet, and inform whatever you're doing. But if you're sitting there and you got paralysis analysis and you're just, what can I do? How can I do it? Rather than simply listening to what we say work. And, I almost given up talking to the older reps. I'm talking to the new ones that will, when they call me about the Connect cards and how important they are and how important it is to get out there and have conversations. David put together 5 things you need to do every single day if you want to create customers. And that's good whether or not you want to create RX customers or you want to create funding customers. You got 5 things. You got to email people every day. You got to make phone calls to somebody every day. My wife and I made 9 calls last week in one afternoon just to do a little bit of a social experiment. And we've got 3 RX customers. Now we're going to figure out how can I do the same thing with small businesses and create this. But if you're going to make you're going to have conversations. Without conversations, there is not going to be. It doesn't matter if you go out there and recruit 400 people in your organization and you're not producing funding and you're not training your people to produce funding. All you are is a recruiting machine because it's a free opportunity. Then you're not going to make any money. Something's got to be sold or some kind of funding's got to happen before you're going to make money in this industry. And I can't stop but wonder and say, why are we not out there making those 5 things happen, like emailing every day, texting every day, calling every day, meet, greet, and inform them. We're out and about in the public domain, and we're just not talking to people, and I don't know why. And I'm just as bad at it as you are, but I'm not going to be that way anymore because last week really got a spark and really a pep in my step, if you will, because I was able to get those customers by just picking up the phone, calling, talking to folks, sending them to my website, that sort of thing. And if it works for RX customers, it'll work for funding. It's just I'll be calling a different clientele. I'll be talking to small businesses, and I have nowhere near completed to every small business in Greenville, South Carolina. On the contrary, I'm just lying to myself saying that, oh, you know, I'm pretty much of a saturated. I haven't even began to even do 1/10 of 1% of those folks here in this local area. So I just wanted to talk to you today and just basically say, hey, listen, do some of those things that we're talking about. Getting on calls and getting on Zooms don't really make you any money. It gives you encouragement, gives you information. What makes you money is talking to people, mainly talking to small business people on a daily basis, even if it's only a couple every single day. And you can just go get where's my valve pack? I got a huge valve pack thing here that just came in, and I'm gonna email them, text them, call them. And if that's all I do is jump on those valve packs for the next couple of days, I should have some kind of result, whether it's one new funding or one or two RX customers, whatever that may be. But the great thing about Valpak and going through all these parking lots and seeing cars there and taking a picture of the trucks with the cars with wraps around them. The good thing about that is I'm doing something. I am producing some kind of positive energy for the week. But if I'm not out talking to people and I'm not discussing this, I'm really taking a backward step. And I know that. And so I'm talking to me more than you. This is something that I'm going to commit to as a lifestyle for me for 2024. So do we have any questions at all? I'm probably not on this, but if you got a question about anything related to funding, I'll be glad to answer it.
Yep, we do have two hands up. So first, V. Wright, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, am I heard?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Wade. Thank you. I always enjoy your 15 minutes. I have two questions, one from last week and one just a general question. Last week, you were speaking about that Connect program, and my question is that only for businesses who have taken funding before? For instance, let's say if a business I'm in contact with can't use funding right now, but this business can refer me to someone who is approved for and accepts funding, does that business get any financial benefit from that if that business has not accepted one of our loans?
Connect Cash is only for people that have gotten funding. However, if I'm talking to someone and I know they can get me referrals, then I'm going to basically say, hey, let me put you in our system as a broker, refer all these people to me, and you're going to get a commission. And to me, that is the best way to approach that. But hey, to me, that's an open, if you know for a fact they're going to be able to give you some folks to talk to, then I would just make them put them in as an agent. It doesn't make sense for them. Well, they can't get the Connect Cash because they haven't ever been funded, but they certainly can take care, and they'll make more money than Connect Cash by becoming an agent.
Okay, thank you. Second thing, could you please speak to the conditions under, or should I say, the ranges of savings that businesses that accept the funding would get if they pay off early? That's a question that came up with a potential client last week.
If they're on a daily payment, it's not a very good one at all, because these daily payments, they usually don't have but about a 4 to 6% savings by paying off early because they're such a short-term funding and such a high risk. But on weekly fundings with the A lenders and weekly fundings with some of the B and C lenders as well, they're going to, on an average, say if they pay off in the first 30, 60, 90, they're going to save about anywhere from 20 to 30% of the cost of funds. That's not 20 to 30% off the entire funding amount. It's the cost of those funds that they're going to save on. But on an average, it's between 20 and 30%.
Could you give a monetary example of that percentage cost of funds equation?
Well, I mean, if you're paying 40% for the money, you borrow 10,000, you're paying 40% for the money, then then 40% is $4,000. So the cost of the savings will come off the 4,000, not the principal.
Oh, sure. Okay, yes. Yes, great. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right. And then we've got Matt DeHame, and then we'll go to Fred Washington. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Matt.
Good morning, Wade.
Good morning.
Okay, so just to speak to just real quick, what you had covered earlier, going back to the reason, a possible reason why agents don't contact or don't make the effort or don't create the activity is because their perception of the cost of the funds, and they can't get it through, like me, occasionally it comes back and can't get it through my thick skull. Okay, and I'm just going to throw this out there, guys. You get a prospect and they get an offer. They go, oh, this is ridiculously expensive. Okay. Well, first of all, the statement's ridiculous. And I've countered this in my mind, but just simply saying you do not have a good enough use for it. Of course, it's ridiculous if you're not going to do anything with it. Yeah, I've got money, it's a tool, but I'm not going to use it. Well, then you're a fool for borrowing it. So start with do you have a very good use? I say very good use for the funds. Very. Do you have good use? Of course, I've got a good use for the funds. I'm going to do this and that, but I don't have enough value or gain in that. So it's not a good enough use for the funds. So the word is to say, do you have a very good use for the funds if you had a whole month's worth of deposits? Just a good way to put it. I'm not sure. Well, then you shouldn't borrow it. Oh, yeah, definitely. I do this and that and the other thing. Well, then let's give it a shot. And that makes sense because we could probably get it done in a day or two. That's it. So if you get that through the skull, just say, okay, this does make sense for those who have a good use, a very good use for the funds. You're going to find people out there that some do right now, and some will eventually definitely have a very good use for it. Most, and I'd say this, most, in my experience, just reaching out, most don't have a good enough use for it immediately, but they might next week or next month. So they just got to know you're the one to go to. That's all I have to say about that. Activity begats activity, which begats or creates results. That's the cycle. That's the dynamo. And once you get into that activity, so just start, right? What's the first step in 1,000 miles, right? A step, right? One step. And once you start taking several steps, all of a sudden, my God, I'm halfway there without even realizing you're walking. So here's what I like to say. Just throw this out there. This is all I want to throw out because it's just like you said, Wade, for you, right? For me, I always reinforce what I'm needing to do, and I throw it out there in the group. So here's what, people want to deal with you. I used to say this in my old business to the guys who are on the phone calling business. I said, you sound like you're falling asleep. You sound like you're disinterested. You gotta be busy. So being busy and being active begats a sensation that people want to deal with you because you're busy. They don't want to deal with somebody that sounds like they're sitting around got all day long and I'm just, I happen to call you now. You just get busy and it creates momentum. That's it. I just want to throw it out, man. So
I appreciate that. But I trained our entire staff with one simple phrase that we use over and over and over. When people start talking about cost of funds and we just basically say, listen, the bottom line is if the cost of not having these funds is greater than the cost of funds, we shouldn't even be having this conversation. The bottom line is, and all of you will find out that if you start talking about the cost of not having the fund, if you don't have it, what's not going to get accomplished? And if you don't have it and you go miss payroll, it doesn't really matter about the cost of funds. But if you just got a good idea and you've been putting it off, and maybe that cost of funds is an issue. So that is the least difficult question for me, for my team to talk about, is cost of funds. The most difficult is the expectations of terms and all that they may have gotten somehow when we're on the phone. They're not complaining so much about cost of funds. It's just, I wanted 2 to 5 years to pay this back or something like that. I don't care what it costs. I just want 2 to 5 years. And that's not what this type of funding is about. But thanks for your comments and your input here, Matt. Anybody else?
Yes, we've just got 2 more. These will be the last 2 questions. We've got Fred and Ellen. So Fred, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Try you one more time here, Fred. You can unmute. Okay, let's go to Ellen and Fred. If you want to type your question in the chat, or we can try to come back to you after Ellen. But Ellen, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, Wade, thanks for doing what you do every week. Appreciate you big time. Hey, I've got
Thanks,
a
man.
question. I have an agent in my team who lives in Arizona, and he is chomping at the bits to talk to some contacts he has in the cannabis space. I know there's some unique minimum requirements in that industry. Can you run through those, please?
Yeah, it's far more than just minimum requirements. It's an industry nobody wants. There's about 3 lenders that's in the space. I'm actually talking, it's funny. I mean, I just had a conversation this morning. We're having a call at 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon, my time, about what it's going to take to get these things funded. Because remember, just because it's a state legalized product, it doesn't make it a federal, and the banks are just so what's the word? They're really confused about what they can and can't do, and they get nervous when people are putting money in for that, because the feds could make a decision at any time to change that. In the meantime, however, if we can get funding, as long as you've got, I mean, if it's close to 100,000 in monthly revenue, we can do something with it. If it's down there 20, below 50, we certainly I'm not going to be able to get it funded for you. But I'm working on that, Ellen, and I'm working on it really hard because it's come up about 3 or 4 times over the last couple of months, and it seems like it's an industry that's really getting their act together when it comes to the banking aspects of it. Before, they would open a bank account with Bank A under a name that had nothing to do with the cannabis industry, and then they would transfer it to another bank account. And it was like they were putting layers of protection, and they no longer have to do that. There are ways they can do it the proper way. And I will give you guys next week an update on where I am with that cannabis. But I think we're going to be able to do some good stuff with that.
Okay, excellent. Perfect. Thank you much.
Thanks.
All right, we had Pamela Warnock's hand shot up. Do you have time for another question, Wade?
I do.
Okay, great. Pam, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, Wade, I just want to piggyback on a little bit of what Ellen was asking. In Georgia, obviously, cannabis is not legal, but there is a lot of vape stores that are selling THC or hemp type things, Delta 8, and all these different type of products that are derived from hemp plants. Are those stores in the same category as cannabis, since they are legal and there's not, they're not selling cannabis, but they're selling all types of other types of things?
Yeah, CBD and all that is a very highly restricted industry, but I can get those funded with a couple of our lenders. And again, this is going to be a conversation that we have with these lenders this afternoon, or the lender this afternoon, whenever we have our conversation. So I'll get you more information on that.
Okay, so it doesn't matter whether it's really cannabis or hemp. They're all kind of in the same category, even if it's a legal thing in Georgia.
CBD is a little bit different, but not a lot in the eyes of most. For example, there was a big raid in a state recently, and when they went in there and just cleaned out a whole county with the county sheriffs on just CBD.
Wow.
It's because I think more than anything is what's in the bottle usually isn't what they put on the bottle. And that's sometimes a problem. I know people that have lost their job by taking CBD, and it just had too much potency in it, and they didn't pass their blood test to keep their job. So that's some other issues. But outside of cannabis, we got tons and tons and tons of industries and small businesses that need what we have. But I'm gonna work on that this afternoon.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's all for questions, Wade.
Okay, guys, thanks a lot for being on, and we'll talk